Any traditional cross-border transaction involves the exchange of a significant amount of information. Parties will first define the scope of the transaction and exchange commercial documents such as the invoice or the shipping list. The exporter will then communicate the requested information to the Customs Administration, but also to all the other agencies involved in border controls to clear the goods for export. This can take a lot of time and duplicated effort. Once the goods have been properly released and shipped to the importing country, the importer has to repeat the process of communicating information to all the border agencies involved in the import clearance of the goods, even though most of this information has already been submitted to the authorities of the exporting country. This resubmission of almost the same information not only hampers the flow of international trade, but also creates an opportunity for fraudulent transactions. Let's look at an example of what the lack of communication between administrations could lead to. In this scenario, the exporter is selling automotive parts for an amount of $100,000 as agreed with its client overseas. The exporter properly declares the goods for export and they are then cleared and exported. However, the importer decides to declare the imported goods as used tires for an amount of $2,000. This kind of fraud is, of course, likely to be detected in the event of a physical inspection of the goods. But we know that there is a very low probability of such inspections given the number of transactions that have to be processed every day. Now let's see what would have happened if a communication system had been in place between the two customs administrations. 80% of the information needed for import clearance was already present in the export declaration. This could have been communicated even prior to shipment by the authorities of the exporting country to the authorities of the importing country. The ideal scenario would be for the importer simply to transmit the remaining information when declaring the goods for import. A step towards that would be for the importer to send a complete import declaration, which would be checked against the export information. The existence of a single data standard is also an opportunity to provide all relevant competent control agencies with a common platform for regulatory data exchange, thus enabling early sharing of information. An average international trade transaction involves 27 to 30 different parties and some 40 documents with 200 data elements, of which about 30 are repeated and 60 to 70% is rekeyed at least once. In a single window environment, enabled by a common data standard, this duplication is avoided, and international traders are offered a simplified interface with customs and multiple cross-border government agencies, as well as a single access point to carefully focus fully comprehensive regulatory requirements. This will also enhance general risk management and enable customs to build up inter-agency operational links and practices that will offset or minimize the operational costs, investments, and staff normally associated with border controls. The WCO data model promotes the concept of single submission of data by the parties which are in the best possible position to submit accurate data. These parties are spread between the origin of the goods and their destination. This makes the WCO data model the universal language for the exchange of legally required data in cross-border transactions. Cross-border regulatory agencies have specified business forms in their regulations. Traders must fill out and submit these forms for every transaction covered by the regulatory requirements. A single window implementation looks at these requirements from a holistic perspective and suggests designs for rationalized forms and ways of organizing a harmonized set of requirements. The reorganization is driven by the principle that each piece of information will be submitted only once within one transaction. The WCO data model provides a clear basis for defining cross-border regulatory messages in which such an arrangement is facilitated. The WCO data model can help to improve the processes associated with traditional customs practices, as well as those of partner cross-border regulatory agencies, thereby facilitating trade, providing the basis for a single window environment, and enabling communication with partner administrations.